So, if possible, there's two things there's two things I'd like to go into. One is I'd like to discuss a little bit about talk a little bit about and try to understand a little bit about your own teaching about sexuality, which I'm very interested in and curious about. And and then after some time, I'd like to tell you about about my own teaching on the whole issue of the relationship between men and women, which is very different, and then just to see what we come to.
Yes.
Okay. So the first, is it working? Yeah. So the first thing I want to tell you is that I never understood. I mean, not that I don't claim to understand it now, but I didn't really understand your teaching about sexuality. I mean, I'd heard a little bit about it and read some of it and heard you speak to me a little bit about it last time, but I couldn't get it. I mean, someone asked me, I said, I don't understand Barry's teaching. And then about 3 weeks ago, when I was home, I put together the magazine with about 4 other people. And Chris had sent me a chapter from one of your books. What was the name of the chapter?
It was from the book Stillness is the Way. I can't remember what.
Right, and
it was an answer to a question.
Okay, it was about a 5-page piece where you were speaking in general about the relationship between men and women. I mean, I think you were giving kind of a synopsis of your view on it. And when I was listening, I was in an expanded state of consciousness anyway before I came into the room, so I was very receptive. And as we were reading it out loud slowly, I actually got transmission from the piece, and like in an instant, I felt at that moment that I understood what it was that you were trying to communicate to people, and I really began to appreciate it in a way that I was actually very touched by it. What you were describing there was I think it was a modern tantric perspective. And I'd like to tell you what I understood, and I'm sure I haven't understood it that well, so please, correct me. I'll just put it into my own words, and because I don't want to misrepresent you. That I think the point was that the inner experience of revelation, right, of oneness, does not mean anything until it's brought into this world, into this very real, actual world. Into this material world.
Yes, that is so.
Okay, and you were saying that
it doesn't mean anything in this world,
right? And
unless you bring it into this world.
Right. And the only way that the most important way, the most significant way to bring it into this world is through the perfect union of man and woman.
That is so.
Okay, and through men and women coming together in sexual union, sexual and romantic union, an experience of this perfect oneness. Yes. Will be experienced by both.
Yes.
And in that both will experience the shall we say, the embodied fulfillment of the inner revelation.
Well, yes, that might be giving too much to the people as an expectation. What it does bring into the woman is utter and complete love of the man, and in that utter and complete love, when a woman utterly and completely loves a man, who loves her, of course, she sees the God in him. And that's all a woman can do. That's all she needs to do. Because when she sees the God in the man and she has been perfectly loved in there, she is in the state of woman. Now, woman doesn't have enlightenment. They only think they do. Woman is already enlightened when she is in the state of love that even if I died, for instance, Sarah would not suffer because I am already in her and she knows what I am inside of me. And so she is protected from suffering any more at the hands of man because she has realized or seen God in man. And she has that consciousness which is just woman's pure love, There's no great blinding consciousness. That's only a way of writing from spiritual commentators. Because I don't have any blinding lights now. I used to have what we call realization and great and wonderful insights when I was ignorant, because insights occur in darkness. And therefore you get lovely lights. But eventually when the ignorance disappears, there's just the constant state, whatever it is. There's neither light nor dark. And so what have you got? So this is where a woman becomes or is the love of God. That's what she does. Now she can't know anything in that state. That's the extraordinary thing, because in the love of God, the true love or union with God, you know nothing. Isn't that right, Andrew?
Yes, absolutely.
And she is brought into that state because woman's nature is utter and complete love. She is God in female form in existence. And if she can reach that place through the love of man who is God in male form, then you have God making love to God in these two forms which God has created so that God may know love. Because unless you have two forms, you don't get any distinction.
Right.
If there was only one form, you get no distinction, therefore you get no, in this existence, realization.
No self-recognition.
Yes, that's right. So that's but I don't know whether I answered your question.
Well, there's one more thing I wanted to just add to what I thought I understood, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you seem to have, don't you? From what I've said, you seem to have got it right, except for the giving anything to the people who are listening, because there's nothing in it for themselves.
Now, what I also understood from the piece that I read was that in this practice of making love, or of man loving woman, or woman loving man, there was an absolute demand that the ego completely surrender in the face of the demand of the man to utterly and totally and completely adore woman, and for a woman to unconditionally and absolutely embrace man.
That is so.
So what I understood was that in truly making love, or in truly man embracing woman and woman embracing man, there needed to be the ego had to completely subside for this ultimate union to actually be able to take place, and that was really what made the practice so powerful in terms of seeing it as a spiritual practice, because for it to work, this kind of surrender had to occur, otherwise the fulfillment that was inherent in that would never be able to occur.
And you would have what we call human love, which is the problem of all couples on earth.
If the surrender was not.
If the surrender was not done. Right. And that's why there has to be this preparation, which my teaching is not just about. It's about what you've just spoken of, but how to get there. How do I do this? Well, you've got to be honest, or you'll have a dishonest love and a dishonest connection. And to be honest, the woman cannot allow her man to get away with anything. She's not allowed to say, oh, well, I don't want to tell him what to do or anything like this, which women don't want to do. She's got to say, wait, I don't want to tell you anything. But we've agreed when we first started this relationship that we were going to be honest to God or honest to truth. But what's the good of a relationship if that's not in it?
Sure.
And as we've agreed that, you have just spoken to me in a way that endeavours to pull woman down. You might not be aware of it, but you've just spoken it. And I'll tell you what you said. You're pulling me down, which is fundamental in man's human nature, to pull woman down. You've tried to undermine me. Now, is that true or is that false? And the man, if he's already said, I want to be honest with you, will look at what he said and he says, yes, I see. I laughed when I said, well, you often make mistakes, don't you? I laughed, didn't I? Now that's a form of pulling woman down under the guise of some humorous sort of a aside. And she has to stop all that stuff, because that's what man does. He uses everything to undermine her. Now that's just an example of how a woman has to watch man. And then it goes on, of course, into sex, where he gets excited. She's got to say, well, I can't have an excited man inside my body, because what you do then is you transfer your excitement to my ground. And if you continue to make love with me like that, which is what happened to me in the past when I was an ordinary woman and with sexual men. I was dragged down and I got self-doubtful. I got depressed every now and again. I lost my way. And I know that that's because sexual man was sex man was in me. And now I don't have any sex man in me. I have a man who is not excited, who just wants to love me and just does that with his body and not with his mind. Because the mind has never made love in its life and never will. It's only made sex.
So this distinction you're making with making love is not aggressively wanting to have an experience and you for example, using the other person, in this case, man using woman, just to have some kind of sensual experience for himself.
Oh no, that is utter selfishness, isn't it?
Right.
It's not honest.
Right.
It's not honest to God. It's not honest to love.
Right.
It's not honest to anything. It's not honest to the woman. No, that's all finished where I'm concerned. And that's what I'm endeavouring to impart. And the way to do it as much as I can.
Right.
It's a circular existence. Everything goes in circles. So even when I speak or you speak, as it goes into the psychic, it goes up a psychic circle and it'll come back and appear in the minds, in the circular minds of people, to contradict itself. And instead of accepting the truth that is said, the people will look for the contradictions. Mm-hmm. Take that up and throw it back at you, Andrew. Isn't that so?
Happens all the time.
Happens all the time.
Is there one thing also that I understood, but I just want to make sure that that's actually true, is that in approaching making love as a spiritual path, that the personality, like for example, the personal identity of the man has to be transcended in order to embrace what it actually means to be man.
Yes.
And the same for the woman, that the personal identity, which would be the neurotic self-fixation and everything that would include, would have to be transcended in order to embrace what it really means to be woman, so that man could allow who he really is when there was no neurotic self-fixation, and the woman would be able to, and woman would also have to transcend. Would be able to experience who she really was when there was no neurotic self-fixation. And in that, they would experience this ultimately impersonal self.
I don't use that word self.
Okay,
you've got to put a capital S and the people listening can't tell whether it's a capital S.
But they would experience their ultimately impersonal essence.
A personal being.
Personal being.
Impersonal being.
Impersonal
I
being.
don't use self, I use being.
Fine.
Okay.
Fine.
Right.
So they would experience their impersonal being and
the impersonal
being.
You.
Okay. And in that impersonal being, there would be the living, conscious knowing of who they really were before there was ever a thought of being the separate personality.
No, I don't say it that way. I wouldn't say it that way. I'd say it that they are completely and utterly in the knowledge of love.
Okay.
And the knowledge of love is the knowledge of nothing. So there's no self-experience. There's no description except to say, this is beauty, this is beautiful, I love you, you are beautiful. There's nothing more to say because it's.
Would it be would there be in that experience with the fullness?
Well, the whole thing is fullness,
but
it's not a fullness that you can get. It's a fullness of being.
Yes, I understand.
And you would understand that, and the fullness of being is nothing to speak of. Well, that's the thing, nothing to speak of. Because people get terrified when you say God is nothing, so I add after as best I can, nothing to speak of, because they get frightened when they find it. If I find God, am I going to be nothing?
So in this path, in making love and relationship as a spiritual path, what puts the enormous pressure on the ego is the demand to surrender all the separate and false notions of self in order to be able to be man, or in order to be able to be woman.
Yes.
That's how it works.
Yes.
It's powerful. It's very beautiful.
Yes.
And that was the first time I really understood how and why it was a genuine practice of liberation, and how it really could work.
Yes. Yes, well, it does work because I am living that. And although, you see, what I live, and the same with you, and I'm not putting myself above you in any way, and I know you do this, what I live, it enables me to teach.
Of course.
If I didn't live it,
of course,
I'm a commentator.
Of course.
And so I am a tantric master. And I live the tantric life and have lived the tantric life. And I am still living the tantric life, but I am only with my one woman now, because I have brought several women to consciousness, sufficient consciousness. And they are now in the world and doing what I want them to do, which is to help man to come to a greater knowledge of love of God, which is of love. And so I am now living with Sarah the impossible, which is a divinely given thing. That how can two bodies which will die, how can they have eternal union? How can you have eternal union in two bodies, physical bodies, by loving each other, to have eternal union, because bodies die? Now that's what I am living with Sarah, and because if I live this, then I can pass this down, or it will pass down to those who are in my teaching and practicing this love, honest love. But I have to live it first, because I am the master. And if the master doesn't live it, the people haven't got any chance of getting it, because there's a transmission through the psyche that goes on in us. If I live it, then that's transmitted down the line for those who are living it to the best of their ability. And that's what is being done here. That it is a divine state of consciousness, in that I have to say that at a certain stage of my life 2 years ago, I entered this divine state of consciousness in which Sarah alone was there, physically, and this is what I'm doing with her.
I'm sorry, what do you mean that Sarah alone was there?
That I made love to no other women, because it is my way to have made love to women in my teaching, that I have seen the light in, or that there is love and sufficient in them to bring them to a greater realization of God. Because when a tantric master makes love to a woman, it's different to anyone else making love to her, because he gives her a greater knowledge of the love of God. Because that's the tantric path. What is tantra really doesn't convey that.
And how, could I ask how he does that? Would that sort of fair question?
No, he does that not with his mind or anything. He does that with his physical body and his innocence. How else could he do it? His body's got to be innocent.
Through his purity.
Yeah, his body's got to be pure. And that's all that every man is endeavouring to do in the spiritual part, is to purify his body. First of all, he starts off with his mind, which is always impure. So he's got to give up his mind, as you know. I'm not trying to tell you to say that. I'm being interviewed. You understand that. Yeah. First of all, he's got to get rid of his mind. Then he's got to get rid of the ground of his mind, which is his emotions and all these wrong things that says he loves this, he loves that, he doesn't like that, he likes that, all emotions. So there's two things he's got to get rid of to start to be innocent. And then he's got to be in his body, and his body remains after he purifies those things. All he's got is his body. Now, we're always where our body is, aren't we? You can't be anywhere else unless you're imaginative, which is the dearth of God, and the dearth of anything is to be imaginative. So you've got to be where the truth is, and the truth is where my body is. And when I'm making love, that's absolutely paramount, that I must be in my body, because only my body can make love. If I'm fantasizing, I'm in my mind, that leads to emotions, I've left my body, and I cannot make love because I am no longer innocent.
No, of course, because you're not even with the person you're with.
No.
You're not loving them.
And you're probably with a phantom
woman. You're loving your mind.
Yeah, and your phantom woman you're thinking about to give you an erection. Whereas you don't need that. But my goodness, as men come over to this, and men do live this, in my teaching, to the best of their ability, they find that they've given up the excitement which is sex, and they lose their erections and they lose their confidence and they lose everything because they've been dependent on a false excitement called sex.
Yes.
But when you give that up, there's always an intermission period, isn't there? Even when somebody comes into the teaching, they're all filled with great enthusiasm and they say, Andrew, you're wonderful, I've never had such a revelation. And they go away for a few weeks or a few months and then they come back and they say, I've lost it. It's all gone because they've started to enter a different part of their ground. And there's a confusion as the confluence between the old ignorance and the new change comes together. Confusion. So then they've got to start again. What are you holding on to? Haven't they? And they get rid of the confusion.
So, Barry, in the tantric lovemaking, do you put a stress on that it's essential for the man to either prolong a period until, or to avoid altogether, ejaculation, so that he's able to, for example, to experience profound intimacy with woman? Yes.
In the beginning, he has to, as much as possible, practice retention without doing it by suppression. This is very difficult to get the distinction between that. So he will find himself practicing more and more retention. But eventually, because this is a divine thing, and it is God who's making the love, not any person, there's no focus on retention or non-retention. It is just what it is. And that's because the person has gone. Whereas retention has a certain person in it, a certain intention.
The person is still trying to do something or not do something.
But as in all things, the person, as it gets reduced, has to do things, but not in the same old way, because it's always the person that makes these decisions. And so it is good to then practice retention, but without suppression. And of course the question is, how do I get my finger between these two, suppression and retention? And that's where he's got to give up the mind trying. And he's got to allow his body to just do it. And of course he will pass through in this because of the confusions I'm talking about and the movement forward in this inside him. There are times when he may have no retention at all, where he starts to have orgasms and he can't stop it. And that would lead him to a self-doubt. Now the whole purpose of the spiritual life is to have no self-doubt whatever. And so he's got to give up one of his favourite attachments, which is self-doubt. And so, God takes over more and more and more.
And so as the self-doubt would be given up or transcended, then the ability to make love in a non-selfish, non-aggressive, non-dualistic way would begin to occur more and more naturally.
More and more naturally, that is so.
And ultimately, one would be making love for very long periods of time, for hours and hours at a time, or?
No, I think that's more of a concept. I think it is possible. What I say is there's no interruption is possible between the two people making love.
So just, you want the sustained focus, sustained deep concentration?
No concentration.
Okay.
The body is the instrument.
Okay.
And the body is just the body, and really it's what's behind
well,
the body.
Spontaneous attraction.
Yeah. But that attraction is always there. It doesn't come and go. You don't feel like making love. And what I teach the people is you must give up feeling like making love, and you must give up not feeling like making love. And one of my recent meetings, because if you feel like making love, that's egoistic and selfish. And if you don't feel like making love, that's selfish. Self I call self, the failure one. And one of my last meetings, they said, or abroad or somewhere, someone said, well, what would you say, how do you get rid of wanting to make love and not wanting to make love, which of course we're all familiar with. The man lying beside the woman says, he's got inside himself, he says, am I going to or not? Do I want to or don't I? This is going on, a conversation in him. Now, how do I get rid of wanting to make love and not wanting to make love? And my answer was, well, you make love all the time. Now, if you're doing something all the time, you can't want to or not want to, can you? And they said, well, how often would be often enough? And I said, well, morning, night, and if possible at noon. I suppose that shocks everybody, because otherwise you will want to and not want to, because you haven't given yourself to love.
So morning, noon, and evening means actually, literally, truly, physically making love
As often as possible, because otherwise you'll get wanting and not wanting it. If you get a pause between making love, you will have a biological urge will come up, or a mental urge, to make love to a woman. You'll have that. You're a man. You can't help it. Now, there's a want. And you can't want in spiritual life. Fine.
Right.
You can't ever want.
Right.
And you can't not want to.
Right.
Now, I know, see, this is Tantra. I'm the only Western Tantric Master. I know that's self-advertisement, but I don't hear anyone talking the truth of Tantra. You see, I hear, another thing that I say is, I'm very open, you know. You probably know, I'm open about that I'm a Tantric Master. I always tell my people, the women how many women I'm making love to at the time. Because I don't make secrets, you see. I don't have secrets. I don't go into intimate details. But I don't like to mislead the people. So that's where my life, and if you don't like it, you leave. But if you listen to the truth that I speak, perhaps you will get something out of it. But what I found in there was someone sent me an article from America about a tantric master, a Tibetan, I think he was. And
living?
Yes, and it was because some women in the States were suing him. He was the author of...
He was sued, right?
Yeah. And what happened?
For millions by about 8 or 9.
Yeah, and what happened?
I think in the end it was settled out of court.
Yeah. I wonder how. But one amazing thing is the article, the American something got together to decided to lay down a code of conduct for spiritual masters.
With the government?
No, the people got together.
The Buddhists.
Lay down right. Now, that is such a contradiction.
But he was accused of doing some quite outrageous. I mean, it didn't sound much like Tantra, what he was up to. It sounded pretty outrageous. Kind of abusive stuff.
Oh, was he? Well, of course, Tantra is not abusive. Tantra is love. God loving God in existence. And God is not abusive. And so the point I wanted to make about this was what I didn't like about it, and what I mentioned in my books or somewhere in my autobiography, is that Tantra is misused, and we have tantric schools and tantric, and everywhere I go I hear it, by people who do not know what they're talking about, because they're not. It's a God-given power to be a tantric master, to have that power in your body. It is God-given, and it is the secrecy of these people. You know, he didn't let the people know what was going on, that he was making love to his students. He didn't make an announcement about, I am a tantric master, this is a holy state. This is something that has been in life for thousands of years, although it's only got a history of a few hundred years. This is a God-given state, just like God realization is a state, just like enlightenment is a state. This is something given by God, and it's for the people. And so if you don't speak to the people about it, Tantra becomes abused by commentators and frauds and God knows what, and sexualists. And I try to avoid that and be open and honest about what I do with my life. And
no, that's essential.
Yeah. Otherwise, yes. And especially in such a tricky subject.
Well, I think this is the most important subject to be very honest about. Otherwise, it ends up ruining everything.
Well, yes, the whole world is so sexual, that they turn everything. They don't hear any decency. And if anyone hears any decency in what I'm saying, because it is decent what I'm saying. You know, it is decent. I'm talking about the love of God coming out of man and woman making love. I'm not talking about orgasms and sexual indulgence and excitement. I'm talking about something pure and beautiful coming out of it.
So Barry, I want to just speak a little bit longer about the actual practice of making love in the tantric practice that we're speaking about, at least just the physical part of it, and then maybe to speak a little bit about more of the other dimensions of it. So ideally, if possible, that one would be experiencing this kind of profound intimacy with one's partner, ideally, for example, 3 times a day. Now, in that intimacy, where ideally there's no wanting and there's no not wanting, there's simply being, would it always be a non-orgasmic experience for the man, and would it also be non-orgasmic for the woman?
No, it would not be always non-orgasmic for the man, nor for the woman. No.
Okay.
That would be something a concept. In my experience, that's not true.
Sorry, what did you say?
That's a concept.
Oh, okay.
In my experience, that's not true, because it is God making God, and that determines whether there's orgasm or whether there's not.
Okay.
Okay? But the periods of non-orgasm are quite extensive.
Okay.
Quite extensive by the very nature of it, because there's a certain physical, orgasm is down here, and making love like we're talking about, is up here.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a body and there's something in us that causes orgasm, and it's beneath the love. But at the same time, it happens.
Okay.
It happens.
Okay.
The other thing was that the wanting and not wanting to make love disappears altogether. So that doesn't mean that after you have done this, after you've made love often so that there's no wanting or not wanting, then it just becomes a state where you don't have to worry about wanting or not wanting, because that's disappeared from you. Just like the self disappears from you. So that disappears too. But I'm only speaking about how to overcome wanting and not wanting.
I can understand, I can appreciate how this kind of practice would, if one practiced very sincerely, it would reveal an experience of profound intimacy with the other.
Yes.
That would be sustained.
Yes.
Sustained. And then obviously this relates back to what you were speaking about before, because if that intimacy is going to be sustained, it would also mean on the interpersonal level that, as you said, there would have to be perfect honesty, that no doubt or resentment could ever be accumulated, because if it was, it would instantly destroy this perfect trust.
Yes, absolutely.
That we're speaking about.
Absolutely. So then you have to remember, we've got to be practical about these things, that women have their periods, their monthly periods, which always disturbs woman in some way or other, and changes her, and often brings up her doubts and fears and insecurities. Now, they, on occasions, are going to arise in every woman at those times, and that she has to more and more rise above that, the belief in that, because it's a belief really. It's a deep, fundamental belief that's been sown in us. But it is possible for her to not relate to that, or to not identify with that less and less. So I'm not trying to present something that's in this existence that is perfect, in the sense
of course,
that it doesn't have reactions.
Right.
Yes, you mentioned something else there.
Could you speak a little bit about the attitude that man must embrace in order to be able to truly adore woman, and also the attitude that the woman must embrace in order to truly be able to love man?
Yes.
Because from what I understood, that the attitude that man or woman has to embrace would make it possible for them to utterly transcend this self-fixation, or this neurotic self-fixation.
Yes. Well, it comes down, You know, I like to deal with the practical always.
Sure.
If I don't make it practical, it's not going to work. And the practical reality for every man is that every 5 minutes or so, when he's not doing anything else, he will think about woman. And woman will think about man. Now that's the fundamental reality of our existence as men and women. But it doesn't seem to have occurred to many people, except in the old days, that this must contain the means of reaching a reality. This thing that I have, my attraction to woman and my attraction to man, as a woman, this must contain something that is holy and is a beginning. Because when you come into existence, you can only come in as a man, and she can only come in as a woman. And that's the first appearance of God in existence. God takes male or female form. Also in the animal kingdom, you know, it's the same. Male and female form. And that's how God separates, first of all, so that love might be known, and that God might be known. Because the woman is God in form, and the man is male in form. Now, to me, every man should realize what he loves most in existence. Now remember, I'm saying in existence, because what he loves most is God, is out of existence. And God in existence is love, and God out of existence is truth, because there's no love out of existence. All love is in existence. Okay, all right? Yeah, well, there you hear that. But we get it all mixed up, you know. The spiritual commentators and teachers don't get it right. There's God out of existence, which everybody can realize in their own body without the assistance of any other body. To realize God is the most rare and wonderful and glorious thing, to realize God. Right. That's God out of existence is what you realize inside yourself. Okay. But when it comes to God in existence, then it's got to be done through man facing, what do I love most in this existence? Well, he's got his boats and he's got his golfs and he's invented all these things and he's got his hunting and he's got this and that to do. And they are distractions that his mind has invented to keep him away from the fundamental thing which his life keeps proving to him. I love woman. Now, his mind will try to make that some impersonal woman, some individual woman. But he has to, in truth, he has to get beyond that to face this fact. I love woman. Not a personal woman, because the mind always personalizes things, but I love woman. When he does that and really sees that, he is loving the principle of woman. The unknown in woman. The essence of woman. The God, which is nothing to speak of in woman. Then he comes down to the personal, where he has an individual woman's body that he's related to in some way or other, associated with. He has to then endeavour to see this God, this thing that he loves most in this woman. Now he can't see that with human eyes. He'll have sex with human eyes. He has to see it with facing the fact that I love woman. And then when he makes love to her, he's got to make love to her, not for himself, for orgasm, or for his own self-satisfaction. He makes love to her for the pure pleasure of making love with her. Now that's very, very rare, to do it for the pure pleasure of her beauty. Because there is nothing more beautiful in the world than man entering a woman and making love with her. There is nothing in the world equal to it. But if I've personalized it in any way, if I've got myself in it, if I'm looking for some to get something back, then it turns into sex. And I've lost it. The beauty. The beauty. Yeah. The impersonal beauty. The impersonal beauty. So first he must face the fact, what do I love most in existence? No good saying God, because God's not in existence. God's out of existence. Where is God in existence? Then I must find this. It's It's the thing that I think about most of my life. It's woman. Now it can't be this woman or that woman, because there's so many. What is it? It's the principle of woman that I love, of course. It's that essence, that thing that's behind every woman. And once he does that, you see, it's a different state of consciousness.
So Barry, why is it that man loves woman? Why is it beyond the biological imperative that man loves woman in the way that you're speaking about?
Because the biological imperative is in everybody, and that, in the first instance, is to ensure the reproduction of the race. And to reproduce existence is a terrible thing, really. So it's an ignorance in itself, which brings about great unhappiness, because everyone born is going to experience unhappiness, and everybody who's dead or in deep dream or sleep experiences nothing. Nothing. And that's beautiful. So yes, that's got to be. See, we are animals, and we forget that we're animals,
right?
And we're also what we'll call spirit. We'll call spirit. I'd call being. It would be my word. But we're also spirit, and this spirit has entered this animal and is now enmeshed with the very flesh of it. And therefore we have animalistic propensities, because when you bring self-consciousness into an animal, like the cow down there, but you bring self-consciousness into it, you get all sorts of sexual, and a mind going on, sexual thoughts. Whereas the animals don't have a mind like that, they have instinct. And so they don't have any sexual thoughts, thank God. We'd be really in trouble. But when you put it into a human animal, you get the trouble that we were just laughing about.
Yes.
Terrible trouble.
Yes.
So we got to separate the animal from the spirit. And of course that's what you're teaching people.
Yes.
Because their animal instincts are what we call the ego and the self, the small self there. Mm-hmm. And that's done by the spiritual life of giving up myself. Isn't it? Giving up my self-indulgence, giving up my distractions, and not facing the truth of what I love most. Because what I love most is always God. And God is love, and God is truth, and God is the unknown. That's what every man and woman love most. But it's been covered up by teachers and frauds and everything, and opinions, instead of getting down to the nitty-gritty of it. If you want to realize God out of existence, which is inside yourself, inside your body, then you certainly have to go through self-denial and self-dissolution, because that's in your body, and that is stopping the natural realization of God, which is the great truth out of existence. But nobody seems to worry about how to realize God in existence. Well, nobody seems to have got on.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand that last part.
Nobody seems to worry or be concerned about how to realize God in existence.
Okay, because you're saying it's through renunciation that one can realize God out of existence. Okay.
Yeah, and then, as I've said about love of woman, is the way to realize God in existence, because that is God. It's very simple.
Okay. So beyond the biological urge, the reason that man loves woman most is?
Because it's God.
Because woman is God. Now, is woman God? Does man recognize the woman as God because he is man, because he still recognizes himself to fundamentally be man?
That is so, because she is his missing love.
Okay.
So he recognizes there's my missing love, but he doesn't really
miss it. But missing love, would that mean in a sense that unless I'm united with woman, unless man was united with woman, that in the world, right, or in
existence, I call it.
Yes, in existence, he would still experience himself as being only half.
Yeah.
Or
he would not whole. Yeah, he would not be whole, despite all his realizations of God. So realizations of God out of existence. Yes. He's not going to really be whole, because the whole thing is to be able to bring God out of existence. Yes. Into existence and realize God in existence. That's the totality.
That's the fulfillment of God realization.
Yes. Is there anything that I should address that you've heard me spoken about to make this a sort of a whole thing?
I can remember a couple of things during the I've forgotten. I think you covered them.
How can man adore a woman who is filled with emotions, doubts, fears? He can't. He's got to start with a personal woman.
I'm taking her on.
Oh yes. Thank you. He's got to start with an individual woman, and although he's seen what he loves as the principle of woman, when he comes up to this individual woman, he's going to come up against her emotions, which is her past sexual experiences and all the rest and all that. And that's going to be in her body. And if she hasn't started to discard her identification with those things, he's not going to be able to adore her. He can love her and endeavour to reach her, but he won't be able to adore her because of the impediments of self which are between him and that which she really is. And so the woman, and same applies to the man, that's what the spiritual life is, to get rid of this damn emotional, selfish impediment that's between us. And so it won't work until both of us have agreed and are to help each other to get rid of this thing and not give it mastery over us at any time. Although we may fail, at least the intention, the right intention is there to get rid of it. Now, another thing is that man eventually has to give up his itinerant going to woman after woman. That has to stop. Okay, that's all right. That's part of experience. That's part of life. But eventually, if he's going to realize God in existence, this God in existence, which is woman, the woman principle, he's going to have to take woman on. And he's going to have to... now, in my case, I had 5 women I had taken on, and I taught them and loved them for 2.5 years, I think 2.5 or 3 years, and I took them on. And we spoke of love and God and life and truth every time that we were together. And we spoke together because all the girls were together, and no jealousy, of course, could exist possibly.
Were you living together?
No, but we would come together. And of course the idea there is, and as a tantric master, is to remove the jealousy from woman, the competitiveness. And unless it's done, it can't be lived, or unless it's lived, it can't be done in the world. And so these women overcame their jealousies, overcame their competitiveness, although that all existed, in such a situation. It's a powder box of a situation, but it's not. When God is being spoken about and God is being taught and God is being realized, there's this wonderful power that is there and some purpose. And so a woman gets rid of these competitive instincts in her and selfish instincts. And because most men, when they make love to other women, it's a secret. They go behind a woman's back and she discovers after 5 years that he's been having affairs, and she's shocked. Absolutely shocked. Well, that's because there's no honesty between man and woman. See, and this was an exercise in honesty and rightness and God. And it's terribly important for a man to be able to talk to his woman about love, life, God, truth, and death. Now, an ordinary man can't take on 5 women and talk about love, God, life, truth, and death and keep everything in order. An ordinary man can't do that. He becomes sexual, and his mind goes, and the woman's mind goes, and they get competitive. It's got to be a tantric master alone can do that. It's just too much. It's too much of a demand. But he is provided with that power. And so now, today, when I am only with Sarah, these women are out there, and but the 5 women today are all sisters, spiritual sisters. They love one another in the sense that they speak together. They're just sisters. That they are beyond the jealousy, beyond this possessiveness, because they have lived it. And they will never be fooled by a man again. Never by his sexuality. Because they know what man's sexuality is and what it is to be loved without sex. I'm not saying sexuality because everything is sexuality, but without sex, without excitement. And as I say, these women are in the world now, and they are doing what they were made for to do. And that is to be honest with man as much as that's possible. And bring more love to the man.
Are they teaching?
No, they don't teach. Their job, woman's job is not to teach.
I heard that you said that was a woman's.
Well, I don't like that. But woman's job is to love. For God's sake, she can do anything with her love. She can impart, communicate, transmit everything through her love, because that's the power of her. Her love is the God power in her. And she doesn't get up and declare herself to be enlightened and make speeches. She doesn't do that. She's the receptive one. She's the one behind the scenes. She's my missing love.
Could you say a little bit about the way man, the truthful way that man would see woman and love a woman, and the truthful way that woman would see a man and love a man?
Yes. Well, first of all, they both have to see what they love most in this world. Right? Like I said. Could see that. That's very difficult to get hold of. I love woman, this man. And woman's got to see, I love man. Not a man, not any man, not a particular man. I love man. See, that's the principle. That's like loving God. Then, when we come together and we will be attracted to someone, we have to be honest right from the start. I am here to live an honest life. I've had enough of dishonest love. And as we are attracted to each other in the beginning now, I want to get it straight before we start anything, because I feel I'm attracted to you, and one thing could lead to another with us. But let us be honest. Do you agree? And she would say, well, if I find you undermining me with your statements, then I have to be able to say to you, so that you have self-knowledge, that for you to see that that's an undermining of woman. And if I'm emotional and accusing you and putting my emotions on you, then you have to be able to say to me, look, can you stop for a moment and have a look at what we've agreed? This is not truthful for you to put these emotions on me. You must tell me what I've done wrong. And of course, most emotions are from the past, lovers and things. And she'll have to say, well, it's not you at all. I'm putting my past dissatisfaction with man and sex onto you now, who loves me. And that's not right. He said, well, that's good, isn't it? Yes. You know, there's this terrible honesty that it's terribly demanding, it would seem, to the mind. And it gets tired. It doesn't want a relationship like that. But that's the honesty, and that's how you do it.
But in terms of what I mean is, for example, that you chivalry.
Oh, yeah.
What? Well, so what I'm curious about is your ideas about, you know, what it really means to be a man, and to live up to what it really means to be a liberated man, or a man, and what it really means to be a woman, and how man would. What's the correct way for a man to view woman, and for
the correct way is, as much as possible, not to swear in her company, because that is a denigration of the what's between them, and this should not happen. It will happen in our modern society. There'll be an expletive come out, but generally, such a simple thing is not to swear in each other's company. Now I hear on the video, last night we saw, a couple of nights ago, we saw a video of a woman and a man who really loved each other. And every second word she's saying, well, what's the fuck's going on? Now that's going into our children, you know, who are going to love people. And you can't love people when you're saying, what's the fuck going on? Because it's an expletive, it's an action of force. Mm-hmm. It's a forceful utterance. And that will come between us. And I will perpetuate my natural animal, forceful ego as a man by doing that. So that's one of the things we must do. And I must endeavour to do all I can to help you, you know, to be not only civil, but to be loving in my way I speak to you, and you to me. I mean, we're going to speak to each other, so we might as well. And loving doesn't mean lovey-dovey. Mm-hmm. You know, I think, you know, the spirit, or whatever it is, the God comes out in a form of harmony between you. And in your actions and behaviour, a harmony comes out and expresses itself, because that's what God is. God is harmony, the ultimate harmony. And so, yes, it's little things like that, I would say. And the woman, well, as I say, woman, all she wants is to be loved. And all she wants to be is love. That's the end of the woman. She doesn't want to make speeches. She doesn't want to run an office. She might run an office, but that's not fundamental to her. And she can realize her fundamental truth of love, what she is, love, and still run an office or do what she's got to do in the world, because we've all got to do what we've got to do in the world. But it gets easier and it gets less, and there's less identification with what we've got to do in the world. So, when two people are truly in love, truly, I'm talking about, when they just make love, as we've been talking about in this divine way, all they've really got to say, all discussions end, really, and all they've got to say is, I love you. You are beautiful. She says it to him, he says it to her. They embrace, they kiss, they hold hands. No discussions about anything to do with the spiritual life. Except Sarah will say to me sometimes, she said, are you sure I'm spiritual enough? You really sure I'm spiritual enough? I don't seem to have any questions, and I just love you. Now, this is the hardest thing, I think, for anyone to grasp, that to have no questions, to just be emptied and have nothing arising, to be able to live, just live every moment, and in a state of, not even a state of love, because love's not feeling, love is a knowledge, in a state of absence of anything. So how would you possibly know anything? And this happens to ordinary people when they get into a state where they don't know anything. They get terrified. But that's the holy state.
Right.
Isn't it? And
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And ordinary people do that, but they haven't been informed, or they can't grasp that this is right. This is right. This is the holy state that the masters talk about knowing nothing. So why am I getting all shaky? Because I feel I've lost the plot. Well, so a woman doesn't know anything when she loves. Like when you love God, you don't know anything, Andrew. Right. You might open and speak with 1,000 people 1,000 nights a year, but you don't know anything. No. And so it is with woman who is not the speaker like that, really. She is the lover. She is the lover. She is God in woman's form, which is pure love. And she does what she does, but she doesn't have force in her. We are the physical, projective thing, and we have our natural propensity is to deliver. Hers is to receive and to be. Because women, people say that man and woman are equal, and I say they're not equal at all. They're different. And that's the best word. They're different. Utterly different. Thank God Because I know that she's got what I haven't. And I love her because she's got what I haven't. And she loves me because I've got what she hasn't. And that's down to basics.